কারণ এখানে আমার একজন বন্ধু, সে গরিব, সে চিকিৎসা করাতে হাসপাতালে যায়, কিন্তু কেন্দ্রীয় সরকারের বিকশিত ভারতকে বিকশিত করবার জন্য তার যে হেলথের প্রোগ্রাম, সেই প্রোগ্রামের ফ্যাসিলিটি তার কাছ পর্যন্ত পৌঁছয় না। কারণ এই সরকার নাম বদলে এমন একটা প্রকল্প করেছে যে প্রকল্পের সুবিধে সেই ছেলেটি নিতে পারছে না হাসপাতালে গিয়ে, কারণ এই সরকারের টাকা নেই, প্ল্যানিং আছে চুরি করা, তার ইমপ্লিমেন্টেশন নেই। ফলে ভারতের অংশ করতে হলে আগে চেষ্টা করতে হবে যাতে রেলগাড়িটা ডবল ইঞ্জিন নিয়ে হই হই করে দৌড়ায়। আমি রাজনীতি করছি না, প্লিজ অরাজনৈতিক কমিউনিকেশন দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করছি মাত্র, আশা করি আপনারা বুঝতে পারছেন। সব তো বলা যায় না, রাজনীতির উপরে থেকে বলতে হয়, কারণ এখানে অনেকেই রাজনীতি করতে আসেননি, তারা ফ্যাক্টটা বুঝতে এসেছেন। এখানে তারা এসেছেন যারা সরাসরি লাভার্থী হওয়ার জন্য এলিজিবল, কিন্তু তাদের সেই এলিজিবিলিটি কোনো কাজে লাগে না, কারণ এখানকার যারা অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন আছেন তারা বিকশিত ভারতের যা যা প্রকল্প কর্মসূচি আছে তা কোনো ক্রমে যাতে মানুষের কাছে না পৌঁছে তার জন্য কোমর বেঁধে চেষ্টা করেন। তাই আজকে যে উদ্যোগ, সেই উদ্যোগের পরিমাণ পশ্চিমবাংলায় সারা ভারতের থেকে বাড়িয়ে দেওয়া উচিত। আমায় মার্জনা করবেন, কেউ কেউ বিতর্ক করতে পারেন, কিন্তু আমার মনে হয় আমার দোষ ত্রুটি হলে এটা আমার নিজস্ব বক্তব্য, আমায় ক্ষমা করবেন, সিনিয়ররা সামনে আছেন, ক্ষমা চেয়ে নিচ্ছি। আমায় মার্জনা করবেন, আমি ক্ষমা চেয়ে নিচ্ছি। কাশ্মীরেও যে সুবিধে বহু অঞ্চলে পৌঁছয় বিকশিত ভারতের, পশ্চিমবাংলার বহু অঞ্চলে সেগুলো পৌঁছয় না। কোথাও যেন কেউ কেউ সেখানে রাজত্বকরণ বলে আটকে যান। পরে অবশ্য তাদের নির্দিষ্ট ব্যবস্থা হয়, আইন মোতাবেক পরিস্থিতি হয়, তখন হয়তো কিছুটা গিয়ে মানুষের কাছে সুবিধে পৌঁছয়। তাই মানুষকে আগে জানাতে হবে, মানুষকে বলতে হবে যে কেন্দ্রীয় ব্যবস্থায় এই এই সুবিধে দেশের প্রধানমন্ত্রী আপনার জন্য দিচ্ছেন, আর যারা আটকাচ্ছেন আপনার হাতেও ক্ষমতা আছে, সেই ক্ষমতার প্রয়োগ করুন। বিকশিত ভারত বিকশিত হবে তখনই যদি আমরা ভারতের প্রত্যেক নাগরিক কোমর বেঁধে সেই ব্যবস্থার সাথে সংযুক্ত হই। আজকে হতে শুরু করেছি। আপনারা হয়তো তাৎক্ষণিকভাবে আমাদের কোনো ছেলেরা আপনাদের কাছে একটা ব্যাজ দিয়েছে, আপনারা পড়ে নিয়েছেন, কিন্তু পড়ে নেওয়ার পর দেখেননি তাতে কি লেখা রয়েছে, খুলে পড়েছেন কি লেখা রয়েছে। আপনি প্রতিনিধি, আপনি এই বিকশিত ভারত প্রকল্প, ভারতকে বিকশিত করবার জন্য আপনি একজন প্রতিনিধি। আপনি সেই সুযোগ পেয়েছেন, অন্যরা পাননি, আপনি আজকে তাই এখানে এসেছেন। এখানে আপনি শুনবেন, জানবেন ভারতবর্ষকে বিকশিত করবার জন্য কি কি কর্মসূচি কেন্দ্রীয় সরকার নিয়েছে, আর সেটা গিয়ে এখন ইমপ্লিমেন্ট করতে পারবেন না, কিন্তু এলাকায় বলবেন, বাড়িতে বলবেন, পাড়ায় বলবেন, বন্ধুদের বলবেন, সোশ্যাল মিডিয়ায় বলবেন, যেখানে যেখানে সুযোগ পাবেন সেখানে বলবেন। কারণ হুইসপার ক্যাম্পেইনটা এখানে খুব জরুরি। কারণ এখানকার ব্যবস্থায় যারা আছেন, এখানকার ক্ষমতায় যারা আছেন, তারা মানুষকে এটা সাজেস্ট করেন যে আপনারা নিউজ চ্যানেল কম দেখবেন, আপনারা সিরিয়াল একটু বেশি দেখুন। আমি পলিটিক্স করছি না, আমি ফ্যাক্ট বলছি। কারণ সিরিয়ালেও তারা এমন কিছু প্রকল্পের কথা বলেন যে প্রকল্পের কথা কোনো মতেই ভারত সরকারের কোনো প্রকল্পের কমিউনিকেশন তাতে থাকে না, ভয়ঙ্কর কমিউনিকেশন। মানুষকে সেটা পৌঁছে দিতে হবে বলেই আমরা এই সরাসরি কমিউনিকেশনের ব্যবস্থার মাধ্যমে এসেছি। তাই প্রধানমন্ত্রী এবং তার দপ্তরকে আমরা ধন্যবাদ জানাই যে পশ্চিম বাংলাকে তিনি বেছে নিয়েছেন এই ধরনের কর্মসূচির জন্য। আজকে যারা বক্তব্য রাখবেন তাদের বক্তার ক্ষেত্রে আমরা অনেক সাধারণ মানুষকেও ডেকেছি। হয়তো ইংরেজি কমিউনিকেশনের ক্ষেত্রে কারুর অসুবিধে হতে পারে, চিন্তা করবেন। আমরা সহযোগী সংগঠন খোলা হাওয়া হিসেবে যারা বক্তারা এখানে বক্তব্য রাখবেন তাদের বাংলা ইন্টারপ্রিটেশনও আমরা আপনাদের কমিউনিকেট করে দেবো, যাতে দ্রুততার সাথে আপনারা সেটা কমিউনিকেটেড হতে পারেন। আমি আমার বক্তব্য এখানেই শেষ করব এটুকু বলে যে এই অনুষ্ঠান অত্যন্ত গুরুত্বপূর্ণ এবং সেন্সিটিভ। এই অনুষ্ঠানে অংশগ্রহণ করার সৌভাগ্য অনেকেরই হয়নি, কারণ অনেকেই আমাদের বলেছিলেন আমরা যোগাযোগ করে উঠতে পারিনি। কিন্তু আমরা চেষ্টা করব আগামী কিছুদিনের মধ্যে আরও বেশি করে এই ধরনের অনুষ্ঠান যাতে আপনাদের কাছে নিয়ে আসা যায় এবং সারা বাংলা জুড়ে করা যায়, কারণ বাংলার পরিস্থিতিতে তা অত্যন্ত জরুরি এবং প্রয়োজনীয়। আমি সময় নষ্ট না করে আপনাদের সবাইকে বলবো আপনারা হাততালি দিয়ে স্বাগত জানান এবং ডেকে নিন এই মূল অনুষ্ঠান যিনি পরিচালনা করবেন, মাননীয় মন্ত্রীজি। আমি তাকে অনুরোধ করছি মঞ্চে আসবার জন্য, প্লিজ। আরেকবার হাততালি চাইবো মিস্টার রাজীব মন্ত্রীর জন্য, প্লিজ।
हाँ लाइट कम कर सकते हैं।
हाँ ये लाइट थोड़ा कम कर दो, नहीं तो ये भी देखने हॉल लाइट भी थोड़ा कम करो।
40 crore dreams, one purpose, that is Viksit Bharat. Viksit Bharat is the largest people-powered movement our nation will witness in this century. And it's your opportunity, it is indeed our opportunity to contribute effectively to make India Viksit Bharat by 2047. Before we move further into the program and welcome our distinguished speakers, can we please have the audio visual with the Honorable Prime Minister's vision for Viksit Bharat, what it is that Viksit Bharat means.
भारत ने आज हर क्षेत्र में जो ऊंचाई हासिल की है, उसने हर देशवासी को एक बड़े साथ जोड़ दिया है और ये संकल्प है विकसित भारत का। और ये हमारा सपना भी है, हम सबका संकल्प भी है कि हमें भारत को विकसित बनाना और इसमें अगले 5 वर्षों की बहुत बड़ी भूमिका होने जा रही है। हम मोड़ पर भारत को 2047 तक देश जब आजादी के 100 साल मनाएगा, भारत को विकसित देश बनाने के लिए काम कर रहे हैं। हमने तीसरे टर्म में दुनिया की तीसरी बड़ी आर्थिक ताकत बनाने का संकल्प लिया है और ये मोदी की गारंटी है। इसका मतलब है भारत के आर्थिक, सामरिक और सांस्कृतिक सामर्थ्य का कई गुना विस्तार, चहुं दिशा में विस्तार। अब तक लाख लोगों से ज्यादा लोगों ने विकसित भारत कैसा हो, इनिशिएटिव कैसे हो, नीतियां कैसी हो, इस पे विचार विमर्श हुआ है। लोगों ने अपने आइडिया दिए हैं और आपको जानकर के और खुशी होगी, इन 15 लाख में से आधे से ज्यादा वो लोग हैं जिनकी उम्र 35 से कम है। हम 2029 में भारत में यूथ ओलंपिक के लिए तैयारी कर रहे हैं। हम 2036 में ओलंपिक खेलों की मेजबानी करें, इसके लिए काम कर रहे हैं। हम 2030 तक हमारी रेलवे को नेट जीरो टारगेट पर ला करके कार्बन मुक्त करने की दिशा में काम कर रहे हैं। हम 2030 के बजाय अपनी टारगेट डेट से पेट्रोल में % इथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग का लक्ष्य भी हासिल कर लेंगे। भारत 2070 तक नेट जीरो के लिए भी नीतियां बना रहा है। विकसित भारत वो नहीं होगा जिसका भविष्य भाग्य के भरोसे। इसलिए दूसरे देशों पर भारत की निर्भरता को हम तेजी से कम कर रहे हैं। इसलिए हम देश के लिए बड़े लक्ष्य बना रहे हैं और उनके लिए योजनाबद्ध तरीके से काम भी कर रहे हैं। भविष्य में हम एक ऐसा भारत देखेंगे जिसे लाखों करोड़ रुपए का खाद्य तेल बाहर से लाने की जरूरत नहीं। हमारे पाम ऑयल मिशन की मदद से हमारे किसान इतने सशक्त हो जाएंगे, देश के पैसों की बचत कर सकते। ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन से जुड़े अभियान और सोलर रूफटॉप मिशन के कारण देश तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहा है। बहुत जल्द भारत दुनिया का सेमीकंडक्टर हब बनेगा और इससे पूरी दुनिया में नई कंप्यूटिंग रिवॉल्यूशन को भी भारत गति देने का निमित्त बनने वाला है। पोर्ट लेड ग्रोथ से पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट तक आने वाले समय में हर क्षेत्र को नई ऊंचाई मिल सकेगी।
May I now invite Shri Hitesh Jain, senior lawyer and member of the core team of Viksit Bharat Ambassador Program. He will tell us more about the program and how we can effectively contribute, and each of us can play the role that we have to make this a success. I will also call upon Dr. Swapan Das Gupta to join us on the stage. Dr. Swapan Das Gupta is a renowned intellectual, historian, politician, and he needs no introduction in Kolkata. So please come to the stage and grace the occasion.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Swapan Das Gupta, distinguished guest, ladies and gentlemen. As we heard just now, the vision of Viksit Bharat, which has been set out by the Honorable Prime Minister in a mission mode. And when we look at the goal of the Viksit Bharat and then compare the role of Viksit Bharat ambassadors also, according to me, it is both a challenge and an opportunity for each one of us. Friends, I had the opportunity to visit at least 7 to 8 programs of Viksit Bharat across the length and breadth of the country. We started in Delhi, we went to Bangalore, we went to Pune, we went to Mumbai, and today we are in the eastern part of the country. And I can tell you with utmost confidence, after speaking to the attendees who have been attending this program, that Viksit Bharat Ambassador Program and the Viksit Bharat Program is now being celebrated as the festival in this country. There is a great amount of anticipation and also the curiosity as to what is the role of Viksit Bharat Ambassador in this Viksit Bharat program. Friends, Prime Minister Modi ji is always speaking of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Prayas or Sabka Vishwas. And when he speaks about Sabka Prayas, this Viksit Bharat Ambassador is about that Sabka Prayas, where the goal of Viksit Bharat cannot be simply achieved by Prime Minister setting out the vision or by the government doing the act, but it is going to be a program where the public will also have to participate in equal number if we have to fulfill the goal of Viksit Bharat. Now, just to explain, Viksit Bharat, again, as I mentioned to you, since it is both a challenge and opportunity, and certainly it is not a political slogan. Now, what is the role of Viksit Bharat Ambassador? When we say it is a public participation program, and when we say it is a goal that has to be achieved by a public participation program, a Viksit Bharat Ambassador is someone who will lead by example, who will lead by participation, and who will lead by context. Just to give you a simple example of Viksit Bharat, I don't know if many of you were aware that 2 weeks before, Sachin Tendulkar was in Kashmir, and when he finished his Kashmir holiday, he had just put on a social media, a small video in which he shared the details about his holiday, about he had purchased some local items, so he shared the details about the local Make in India goods which he purchased over there and his visit in Kashmir. Now, when he shares this video, He's acting as a ambassador of a tourism of India. And when somebody like him can also participate, similarly when we participate or we travel in different parts of country and we see something good in terms of opportunity in tourism, opportunity in terms of Make in India, that is what is called as a role of Viksit Bharat ambassador. For example, when we speak about Swachhata movement also, now Swachhata movement cannot be achieved merely by a government slogan or a slogan on the paper. It will require a participation. It will participation from us. It will require a participation for us to encourage others to participate in this movement and make this success. And when you participate in the mission of Swachhata, that is also the role of Viksit Bharat ambassador. It will not be an overstatement to say that a Viksit Bharat ambassador is one who will also pay his taxes as per whatever is required. He will pay his taxes and fulfill the role of a Viksit Bharat ambassador also. Ambassador, therefore, is an opportunity which will give us a lot of opportunity for us to come together, to encourage, to lead by example, and also involve our neighborhood. I will just give you a small example, and this was a journey that started in a drawing room 15 years before. During the era of 2009, even when we used to discuss about the politics or the engagement, it was very challenging and people were very reluctant and hesitant to discuss politics also. But friends, you will agree that in the last 10 years, the kind of transformation we have seen, the kind of governance we have seen, engagement has been achieved. Now we are speaking about public participation. People feel that this is their government, this is their, and if it is their government, their involvement and participation is also equally necessary. Each one of us over here, we feel, is an opinion maker and also an influencer. We have a power to convince, we have a power to convince our own people, we have a power to convince people in our organization, we have power to convince our employees, we have the power to convince our neighborhood, we have the power to convince our family members also. So a Viksit Bharat ambassador basically will be also a harbinger of a positive messages. And when you will spread the positive messages, when you will spread the positive messages of the development, I'm sure people will realize the importance of the Viksit Bharat goal. I just want to share some 3 data sets which has really impressed me. I don't know whether you are aware, but in the last 10 years, we have seen opening of university. Every 1 week, there is one university that is being opened. As far as colleges is concerned, every second day in India, there is a new college that is getting opened. Third, if you look at the data of the startups, if we were 350 startups in 2014, today you have over 1,17,000 startups which are there across the India and which is creating jobs, opportunities. So when you see such kind of transformation that is happening in every field, from port to airport, from land to sea, from sea to Chandrayaan, I think we are in a golden era, and the coming 5 years and the role of Viksit Bharat ambassador will define the journey of next 20 years. We have come here today to request the citizens of Calcutta to be a part of this public participation movement, the biggest public partnership movement. Please join the movement of Viksit Bharat and be a Viksit Bharat ambassador. It is my sincere request that to each one of you, please download the Narendra Modi app, because we are running the program through the Narendra Modi app, and we are sharing the information of the program as well as the important developments that are happening in the country on the Narendra Modi app. It was my earnest request to each one of you to download the app and participate in the program. On the app, we are also sharing a lot of positive development, lot of information and lot of awareness regarding the government programs. and the schemes, plus the development programs that have been launched across the length and breadth of the country, I'm sure you will find that useful, and you can spread that amongst your friends, family, and the neighborhood. So, in my view, this is an opportunity for us. Let's create a history together. This is a opportunity which will define the future of the country for the next 25 years. And I'm sure each one of you will agree and be a part of this Viksit Bharat ambassador, and let's together create a history. Thank you very much.
May I now invite Dr. Sapan Dasgupta to address us.
নমস্কার, আমি যতক্ষণ না মন্ত্রী আসে আমি ততক্ষণ বাংলাতেই বলি, তারপরে ইংরেজিতে বলবো। অরিজিনাল শিডিউলে বলা হয়েছিল যে মন্ত্রী মহাশয়কে আমি স্বাগত জানাবো, তো উনি যখন আসবেন তখন আমি স্বাগত করব। কিন্তু তার আগে এই বিকশিত ভারত নিয়ে কিছু কথা একটু বলতে চাই। আজকে মাননীয় হিতেশ জেন ওনার ভাষণে একটি কথা উল্লেখ করলেন, এটা হচ্ছে লাভার্থী। তার মানে হচ্ছে যারা ভারত সরকারের বিভিন্ন প্রকল্পে লাভবান হয়েছে। মানে ধরুন কারুর জন্যে বাড়ি, কারুর জন্যে শৌচালয়, বা আমরা সবাই কোনো না কোনো ক্ষেত্রে রেশনের দিকে যে যে এত সংখ্যার লোকেদের রেশন দেয়া হচ্ছে, তাদের মধ্যে কিছু না কিছু আমরা সবাই একদিক থেকে লাভবান। তাছাড়া যদি কোভিড দেখেন, কোভিডের মধ্যে ফ্রি ভ্যাকসিনটা, সে তো মানুষের শ্রেণী নির্বিশেষে তারা লাভবান হয়েছে, তাদের ইনকাম সার্টিফিকেট দেখাতে হয়নি। তো বিকশিত ভারত একটা দিকে যদি দেখা যায় যে সেটাকে ওয়েলফেয়ার পলিটিক্সের দিকে আমরা নজর দিতে পারি, কিন্তু সেটা একটা মানে চিত্রটা শুধু ওতে সীমিত করা যায় না। কারণ আজকে যে প্রধানমন্ত্রী আমাদের এসছে, সে প্রধানমন্ত্রী যে ভাষায় কথা বলে সেটা কিন্তু তার পূর্বে যারা ভারতবর্ষের নেতৃত্ব করেছিল তারা যে ভাষাটা ব্যবহার করত তার থেকে কিন্তু ভীষণ ভিন্ন। আমার মনে আছে আমরা যখন কলেজ ইউনিভার্সিটিতে ছিলাম তখন ভারতের অর্থনীতি নিয়ে যদি কথা বলা হতো তাহলে তার আগে একটা প্রিফিক্সে বলা হতো আমরা হচ্ছে তৃতীয় বিশ্বের। আমাদের বলা হতো, সেটাকে আরেকটু গ্লস দিয়ে একটু সাজিয়ে সুজিয়ে বলা হতো, উই আর এ ডেভেলপিং কান্ট্রি। আসল কথা হচ্ছে যে আমরা মানে একদম নিচে, উই আর দ্য লোয়েস্ট টিয়ার। আর সে পৃথিবীতেও যারা ধরতো আমরা বলতো যে ডু ইউ গেট এইড। একটা সময় ছিল যখন একটা PL 480 থেকে তখন বলা হতো ইন্ডিয়া ইজ লিডিং আ শিপ টু মাউথ এক্সিস্টেন্স, যে PL 480 ধান আসতো আমেরিকা থেকে আর সেটাকে তার পরের দিন রেশনের দোকানে গিয়ে লোকে পেত। তো সেই জায়গা থেকে আজকে আমরা অনেক একটা অন্য জায়গায় উন্নতি করেছি, কিন্তু সেটা শুধু যে ইকোনমিক ইন্ডিকেটর দিয়ে যে আমরা we will soon be at the third largest economy in the world, আমরা 5 ট্রিলিয়ন থেকে 8 ট্রিলিয়ন কি ইকোনমি হব, সেটা একটা দিকে পড়া যায়। কিন্তু এই যে বিকশিত ভারত যেটা আমরা বলতে চাই, সেটা হচ্ছে যে মানুষের লক্ষ্যটা কোথায় গেল। আমার মানসিকতাটা কি? আমাদের মানসিকতাটা এখন ওইভাবে আর সীমিত নেই, সেটাই হচ্ছে সব থেকে বড়। এটা অনেকে বলতে পারে যে আমরা তো ভারতবর্ষে সংগ্রামী ভারতবর্ষ, যেটা তাদের লক্ষ্য ছিল সেটা থেকে একটা অন্য জায়গায় চলে আসছি। হ্যাঁ, আমরা চলে এসেছি, কারণ আমরা এখন we are no longer in the business of the management of poverty. We are in the business of the management of growth. এইটাই হচ্ছে একটা বড় পার্থক্য। এইটা একটা বড়, কিন্তু একটা দিক থেকে এটা মেন্টাল লিপ। নরেন্দ্র মোদী এইটাই তার একটা বিগেস্ট অ্যাচিভমেন্ট, সব থেকে বড় একটা। কিন্তু এখন এটা কিন্তুটা এসে যায়, পশ্চিমবঙ্গে থাকলেই কিন্তুটাও বেড়ে যায়। কিন্তু এটা শুধু আমরা বলবো না যে আমরা হেলথ ইন্স্যুরেন্সের 5 লাখ টাকা সুবিধা করতে পারছি না, ঠিক আছে, ওটা একটা বড় একটা গাফিলতি আছে, আমাদের করা উচিত। পশ্চিমবঙ্গ থেকে মনে হয় আজকে সারা ভারতবর্ষ থেকে সব থেকে বেশি পরিযায়ী শ্রমিক আছে, যারা এখানে আছে, দে নিড দেয়ার ট্রিটমেন্ট ইন চেন্নাই, তাদের কাছে এটা একটা বড় ব্যাপার। সেটা হয়তো হচ্ছে না, যে কার্ডটা এখানে দেয় সেটা সরকারি হাসপাতাল ছাড়া আর কেউ মানে না, যারা এখানে হেলথ সেক্টর আছে। অ্যান্ড হেলথ সেক্টর পশ্চিমবঙ্গে ইজ গ্রোয়িং থ্যাঙ্কস টু বাংলাদেশ, থ্যাঙ্কস টু দ্য নর্থ ইস্টার্ন স্টেটস। তো ওটা একটা দিকে করা যায়, কিন্তু সব থেকে বেশি হচ্ছে যে পশ্চিমবঙ্গে এখন আমাদের প্রায়োরিটিটা হয়ে গেছে নট দ্য ম্যানেজমেন্ট অফ গ্রোথ, but really dealing with poverty and how we can redistribute poverty. A redistribution of poverty is really what has happened. এটার কারণ হচ্ছে আমাদের এখানে স্টেটে যে ধরনের একটা মানসিক কালচার হয়েছে, সেখানে এন্টারপ্রেনারশিপ এনকারেজ করে না। আমাদের মাননীয় মন্ত্রী এসে গেছে, তো স্বাগত আমরা আগে জানিয়ে নিই। হ্যাঁ, মঞ্চ কম কম।
Please, sir. Can I just announce?
Okay, I'll just finish it.
Finish.
Well, it gives me great and enormous pleasure to be able to welcome Sri Hardeep Singh Puri, the Honorable Minister of Urban Development and Oil and Petroleum. I hope I've got your portfolios right, more or less. It's always difficult for me to speak of Mr. Puri as the Honorable Mr. Puri, partly because we have an association. I have to make that confession that he was my teacher at St. Stephen's College. What he taught me was instructive, but I think we have a greater association outside university than within it. But it was very good of you, Minister, to have spared the time to come to Kolkata. I know sometimes Kolkata has fallen off the map. Not because we don't have population, but partly because in terms of the momentum of the economy, we seem to have become laggard. So it's very important at this point to be reminded that Viksit Bharat is really about propelling India into becoming a developed country. It is about propelling India to take the place among the first world. It is about making sure that Indians can hold their head up and live the life to the fullest. It's about all those. And you, Mr. Minister, has been in the forefront of some of the more important initiatives. The Central Vista project, which initially drew a lot of flack, but has since then been widely appreciated, was your handiwork. You are part of the driving force which built the new Parliament House. And you were in the ministry which actually managed to effect a massive cleanup of Lachin's Delhi against illegal occupants. And I tell you, that itself was an enormous project. So I hope, in a modest way, we in Calcutta can avail of your expertise. We can have the benefit of your undeniable erudition, which incidentally has been in the forefront in his place as he was Deputy High Commissioner in the United Kingdom. He was the permanent representative in the United Nations. And I think he served India in more ways than we can imagine in a lifetime. So with this, over to Kritika. And welcome once again.
Thank you very much, sir, for your warm hospitality in the Kolkata. 140 crore dreams, one purpose, Viksit Bharat. We're so happy and grateful to be graced by the presence of Sri Hardeep Singh Puri ji. Swapanda has made my job very easy by giving a lovely introduction to our chief guest presiding this evening, a leader known for his wisdom, knowledge, and ability to deliver superlatively. May I please request our stage if we could light the lamp. May I now please request Shri Swapan Das Gupta ji to felicitate our chief guest. Thank you very much. Now for the part that our audience has been waiting for anxiously. May I please invite, okay, once. Now for the part that our audience has been waiting for anxiously, may I please request our chief guest, Shri Hardeep Singh Puri ji, to join us on the dais and deliver the keynote address and the presentation on India's epochal journey towards Viksit Bharat.
Let me start with a disclosure up front. The city of Calcutta has a very special emotional appeal for me. Why do I say that? When I was a student at Delhi University, I think most of us, without exception, were deeply influenced by the intellectual vibrancy of Bengal, political developments in the city of Calcutta. No matter whether your ideological leanings were on the left or the right. And I can say that I can count on my personal associations with many of people from Bengal at that point of life. My friend Chopin is one of them. Some of us have left for another life, and if I were to start listing them all, I think we'd take a long time. I had one particular very close friend who was a year junior to me in college, who was from Bengal. I think his family ran a hospitality business, etc., and he used to play the guitar. But the point I'm making is that after that association, my first job was in this city. Before I got even my MA final results, I joined a multinational company and I was assigned to West Bengal. I spent some time here working, so my first exposure to adult life as it was in Bengal. So I have always fondly remembered coming back here, and I'm particularly pleased to come back here. Chopin, I just happened to be on the teaching faculty of St. Stephen's College when he was a student, so were many others, Chandan Mitra, Shashi Tharoor, and it would be very unfair to blame me for what some of them have done later in life. So I make that qualifier right in the beginning. With Chopin, I identify more easily. With one other person I just named, it is with some reluctance. And he is also not willing to believe that I was his teacher, because we went along different paths. Today, I think I want to start with something very basic. Chopin and I are students of history. And I think the greatness of India prior to the 190 years of colonial domination was there was a Jagat Seth here who was able, through one bill of transfer, to transfer all the earnings of the East India Company from Calcutta to London. Such was the strength of the Indian economy. According to a Cambridge historian, Angus Maddison, India contributed something to the vicinity close to 23 to 25% of the global economy in the year 1700. That is a good 50 years prior to the, the colonial experience, which began as students of history, we accept from 1757 to 1947, 190 years. So first of all, let me say how delighted I am to be back in Calcutta. I don't know how many trips I've made here during my 39 years as a member of the Foreign Service, but each coming here has been both enriching and educative, and I don't think the current challenges that Bengal faces or what you all are engaged in, or the attempt to get the state of West Bengal firmly anchored into the Viksit Bharat journey, I don't think that's any less exciting. But let me start thanking you, Hitesh ji, for inviting me to this 8th in a series of programs. Young lady, I don't know, I think, yes, I told you I know your previous generation, your father-in-law and I are good friends. We work together. So I'm delighted you're here, and Chopin and I, as I've already said, go back a long way. I want to, do I have to press this to get this on? Yeah. Okay, now somebody's, Rasal, you will be playing the slides from here, there, or do I need to do it? Will you do it? Yeah. Yeah. You know, what is the concept of a Viksit Bharat? Simply stated, how India will become a developed country. Everybody has accepted the idea, everybody has accepted the fact that we are growing very fast. Before Mr. Modi assumed responsibility, India was the 11th or 10th largest economy in the world. Today we are the 5th largest economy, and I think nothing gave us greater pleasure than when we moved from being the 6th to the 5th largest, because we passed 190 years of colonial domination in that little journey from 6th to 5th place. The 4th and 3rd largest economies in the world, if I may be courageous enough to say so, are facing deep challenges. One of them, because of an aging population, is not able to grow beyond either plateaued, steady, or quarter-on-quarter decline, which technically means a recession. That is Japan. Germany also, I'm not picking on countries yet, but those are the facts. Whereas in India, we are growing last quarter 8.4%. Now, even making allowances for the fact that you cannot sustain 8.4% in every quarter, it stands to reason you will grow at 6.5%, 7%. If that happens, you will be the 3rd largest economy during Mr. Modi's 3rd term. Again, I choose my words carefully. Why do I do that? I will come back in a minute. And we will move onwards, well towards 2047, which is only 23 years from now. We will move in the direction not only of being amongst the 3 large economies, but there's a reasonable chance, you can never predict what's going to happen in the rest of the world, you will be, by 2047, if Ernst & Young, their projections are right, you will be an economy way beyond what the large 2 economies are today. But I've come to that in a minute. Your per capita income should grow from $2,000 plus to $15,000 to $18,000 by now, but I want to come back to the slides. There has been turmoil in the global energy markets, thanks to a lot of factors, but one thing that Modi ji's Bharat has ensured, we are the only country in the world where prices have actually come down for petrol and diesel over the last 2 years. In India, if you look at the overall prices from January to July 2022, look at what's happening in India, what's happening in Pakistan, what's happening in Sri Lanka. But even if you go to the developed countries, United States, Canada, UK, there also they went up by 30-40%. And you had signs like, sorry, no fuel after the Russia-Ukraine war. We could have done one of 2 things. We could have followed bad policies and run into trouble. but I want you to show me Jeff Pyatt's this thing. This is the Assistant Secretary of State for Energy in the United States. He said, India's decision to purchase Russian crude has helped stabilize the international energy markets, benefiting both global consumers and its own citizens through access to affordable fuel. Not no stage in the last 3 years have we been found wanting on the trilemma of availability of fuel, affordability, and sustainability. That is the green transition. Why were we able to do it? Because on 2 occasions, the Honorable Prime Minister decided that the central government excise duty on petrol and diesel came down on 2 occasions, November 2021, May 2022, and the price declined by 13 rupees and 16 rupees on petrol and diesel. And the BJP ruled states also, as a result, lowered their VAT. So we have a very interesting situation. You have a situation where, if you look at the Indian situation, we were able to diversify our sources from where we import. We moved very fast on biofuels. We made the transition to green energy. When Mr. Modi became Prime Minister, we had tried to have biofuel blending in 5 of our states. In 10 of our states for 5% blending, we couldn't do it. We only reached 1.5%. Today we are blending 12% on a rising fuel consumption level. The difference of price between states is very instructive. Rasal, do we have one of those slides? Yeah. You please see the difference in prices between Lucknow and Bangalore. Difference of 5 rupees 37 paise in petrol. In between Guwahati and Kolkata, 8 rupees difference. Panaji and Amravati, 14 rupees 65 paise a litre. And any of you who drives a car or any vehicle knows you don't fill 1 litre. Most cars today have 30-40 litres tanks. So you multiply that 14 rupees into 30 or 40, or that 8 rupees into 30 and 40, that is the differential. Diesel comparison equally, 9 rupees 85 paise difference between Lucknow and Amravati, Itanagar and Kolkata, 10 rupees 59 paise, Imphal and Hyderabad, 10 rupees 65 paise. So this is what sensible policies can do. And I'm amazed at some of the uneducated, bordering on illiterate stuff that is thrown at us. One young man, not so young anymore, whom I designate as the assistant professor of gas pricing, made a statement the other day, हमारे ज़माने में तो हम गैस का प्राइस ये करते थे, हम 60,000 करोड़ की सब्सिडी देते थे. To which my answer in a very sober manner was, पर आपके ज़माने में तो गैस थी ही नहीं. LPG was introduced in the country in the 1950s. Those of you, most of you were not born. Most of you look like first-time voters to me. Yeah, many of you. But even chaps like me who were born in 1952 and, you know, grew up in lower middle class families, gas cylinders came 1960s mein. And by the time the 2004-14 period was over, there were only 14 crore gas connections in the country. Our population was not very different. Today, what is it? 140 crores? 140 crores mein the total connections were 14 crores. You work out the percentage. So my first question is, whom were you giving that 60,000 crore subsidy to? So when Mr. Modi came, first thing he said, jisko subsidy ki zarurat nahi, give up. And 1 crore 30 lakh people gave up their subsidies because they didn't need it. They were well-to-do people like my friend Shopan Das Gupta. No, I'm only naming him because I've known him for a very long time. So God has been kind to him and his family. Now, and the others, there's pilferage, pure pilferage. So Mr. Modi, to begin with, changed that fundamental equation. Earlier, in order to get a gas cylinder, you had to go up to your MLA or your MP, or, you know, you had to, I shouldn't use the word, bribe your way through it. You didn't have gas cylinders. So, जो हमारे ज़माने में होता, अरे बस तुम्हारे ज़माने में gas नहीं थी यार. Today there are 32 crore gas connections in the country, doubled. Number 2, and this is more important, piped gas is now going to households directly. Earlier there were 25 lakh, now 1 crore 25 lakh households are getting piped gas. And piped gas is 20% cheaper than cylinder gas. But more than that, today you're getting biofuels, you're getting this thing. But at a time when there's global turmoil, prices should have shot up. In India they came down. Well, that's Modi ki guarantee. That's one form of it. Because he said, even at a time when his government was feeding 80 crore, 800 million people, 3 meals of dry ration in a day, even at that stage, the excise was reduced because the government has been able to, I'm not saying totally eliminate, but to rationalize the expenditure, cut out the waste, cut out the pilferage, and today you have a situation where gas cylinders are readily available. And then in 2016 he introduced the Ujjwala scheme. Ujjwala scheme for the economically weaker section. And earlier, these cylinders were all urban phenomena. If you lived in a city, you got a cylinder. There were no connections in rural areas. Today the beauty of it is that out of the 10 crore Ujjwala connections which have been given, 8 crores are in rural areas. When the Honorable Prime Minister went for the consecration of Lord Ram, he went to the house of a particular lady, Meera Manji, if I remember correctly. He went to her house. She's a beneficiary of the Ujjwala. She'd got it a few days earlier. She's also a beneficiary of the other scheme. These are the people benefiting. So I want to come back to this comparison. I want to go away from this. I want to come now to, I'll skip the BPC, I'll come back to it later. Let's look at the charts on what the government was earlier and what it is today. The government of between 2004 and 14 could roughly be described. You know, all these things you've known are success in the Asian Games, the first country to land on the south pole of the moon, Chandrayaan 3rd mission, indigenous vaccine, indigenous startups. I will take that because you all are very familiar with it. I want to come to the overall this thing, you know, the policy paralysis which took place earlier. The economy by the rest of the world was described as being part of the famous Fragile Five. Now, I know I have a friend who's written books on, who's written anti-fragile, but what is fragility? Fragility, the best way to describe it is you're traveling, you have a suitcase full of breakables, you put a label on it, fragile, handled with care. You've gone from there to being the 5th largest economy. That in and of itself, I think, tells a story. Bright spot in the world, I don't want to exaggerate that, but there are friends I have in the world. I used to live earlier in New York and Europe, which say that India may be the only bright spot, the rate at which we are going. The United States says it's a big economy, 23 trillion. But if you look at the European economies, for a variety of reasons, if you look at Japan, China, again there are worrying signs there. So India is certainly one of the bright spots, and if the rest of the world doesn't get its act together as it were, India will, in fact, there will be more focus on India. I have this Fragile Five, top 5 journey, epochal forex reserves. I think that's a very good thing to look at. It from $270 billion to $600 billion. Inflation, current account deficit from 5.1% down to 2%. Environmental approval. But I want to show that chart which shows which project was started when and approved when. And I think therein lies a story. These are, I think, most of these are well documented. And the women-led development I want to say something on. You know, most of my adult life, if I may say so, I've had the privilege of dealing with issues relating to SDG 5, women's empowerment, etc. Partly because I have a strong feminist at home, but more than that, I think in the last 7 years that I have been a minister, all of Modi ji's programs have a women-centered focus. Let me explain to you. When you build a shauchalaya or a toilet, where does it start? It starts by providing dignity. Then you go to the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana.
who are the title holders? It has to be women. The law very clearly says either women or co-jointly. So I did an analysis. Out of the 4 crore houses sanctioned, one which are already with the beneficiaries or the Labharthis, who are the beneficiaries? 72% are in the name of the women solely. So I'm not wanting to drive a point, but in the event of a domestic differences or discord, it's very important that it be known that the title of the house is in the name of the lady of the house, and I think a sobering effect will take place. Now you go there, these are all women-centered development schemes. But you've gone from there to women-led development. The reservation of 33.3% seats in the legislature, in the central parliament, which will come as soon as the census is ready, now hopefully very soon, then the delimitation, then from 2026 or 27, you can begin to implement it. And my experience as a professional diplomat studying other societies is that wherever you've had women-led development, the GDP has invariably gone up from 20 to 30%. That's a global experience. So I think those of us who are, there are some misgivings ki the male of the species will have their seats taken. Not at all. These are additional seats. So I don't think any of our guys who are worrying about losing their seat, there'll be a delimitation, there'll be a re-exercise of constituencies. And wherever I go, not in groups like this, but I always ask all my interlocutors there, I said, aap mein se election kitna ladna chahte hain? Tell you, most of the members there, whether it's a panchayat or a semi-rural area or this rural, or all of them raise their hand. That is a good sign. That there is consciousness and that the government is driving that kind of message down to the people that, you know, they are not only equal participants, but acknowledged to be even more participants, even more important participants in the system which is growing. Now 10 crore, I've covered that, Swachh Bharat Mission, 11 crore toilets. I think I want to skip this to come to that point where how many schemes we started in 2003, which Modi ji is finishing now. Otherwise, if you, all this is very well known. I think, Hiteshi, can you just pass me my notes? This, yeah, this. If you start preparing for these events well, you don't know if you left out something, but I have the figures here. Okay, let's start. Recently, a coastal road was inaugurated in Mumbai. It was conceptualized in 1967. Foundation stone was laid in 1918. So 1967 conceptualized, foundation stone laid in 2018, and we inaugurated it in 2024. So whatever Mr. Modi is doing in terms of Shilanyas and Udghatan, it comes through within a specified. Mumbai Trans-Harbour Link was conceptualized in 1963. It was inaugurated in January 2024. Calcutta Underground Metro was conceptualized in 1969. Dwarka Expressway planned in 2006, finally delivered in 2024. On December 22, Prime Minister inaugurated Goa's Mopa International Airport, 12 years after the Congress-led UPA government approved the project. 12 years after that. And we've been only in office for 10 years. Saryu Irrigation Project in Uttar Pradesh was inaugurated in 2021, more than 40 years after it had been conceptualized and launched in 1978. Western and Eastern Peripheral Expressways, both projects were announced in 2003, expected to be completed in 2009. Those are teen or those are now. However, after several missed deadlines, work on the two expressways finally commenced after PM Modi took charge. Both the projects are finished and open to the public in 2018. Bogibeel Bridge announced in 1997, completed by our government in 2018. Bhupen Hazarika Setu or Dhola Sadia Bridge approved in 2009. It was BJP government which completed in 2017. I have a host of these projects. When I was a joint secretary in the Defense Ministry, I had a very kind defense minister. Alas, he is no more. He belonged to an opposition party, but we had a coalition then. And he used to always refer to me, oh, foreign wale Sardar ji ko bula lo. I think he used to forget my name. And whenever I used to go to him, he said, "You बहुत तकलीफ दे रहे, मैं कोई project launch करना चाहता हूँ, आप यहाँ पे वो financial advisor साहब मानते ही नहीं है." So I had to one day summon the courage and tell him, I said, "मंत्री जी, यूपी में जो शिलान्यास हुए हैं, जो फाउंडेशन स्टोन लिए गए हैं, उसकी लिस्ट इज रनिंग इनटू हंड्रेड्स। तो यहाँ पे इनको यही डर है कि आप सेंटर में भी ऐसा ही कर देंगे." I never heard from him again on that, but look at the difference between what was happening then and what's happening now. Today, look at what's happening in terms of semiconductors. Look at what's happening in development of semiconductors and display manufacturing ecosystem. In 2023, June 1, the cabinet had sanctioned production-linked incentives worth rupees 11,000 crore for companies to set up plants in India. On 22nd June 2023, we invited Micron Technologies to boost semiconductor manufacturing in India. Then we signed the MOU in June 2023, and the rest is history. What has been launched yesterday, and these slides, Hitesh, if you don't mind, you have the copies of this. I will also send you some of the updates on that. And I think what is important about the Viksit Bharat ambassadors, I mean, you are very young. I think Chopin is also young. But 2047 is 23 years from now. I'm already past my, best part. But these are the people who will be shaping what constitutes Viksit Bharat. And I think if you know what happened in the past, it's only important because it will drive you with greater vigor and enthusiasm into what you plan to do in the future. Now, if I may digress to another topic, if I have your permission, my friends on the munch, CAA. So much of ill-informed stuff is being thrown at us. What is the CAA? Look, I am the son of refugees. My father came on the last frontier mail from Lahore, on which it was safe to travel. My mother and her family came from Peshawar. I was born 5 years later. It's good to understand what the CAA is and what it isn't. There are persecuted minorities in some of our neighboring countries. And those persecuted minorities in these countries are who? They are the Buddhists, the Christians, the Jains, the Hindus, the Sikhs. There may be others. But these, I'll give you a small example. Chopin in 1947, when the partition took place, when independent India was born, the population of Hindus in what is now Pakistan was 24%. Do you know what it is today? 1%. In what was East Pakistan then, there was a certain population. How many of them are left? Just 7%. So some of these people who came before 2014, they are being given a right. And my friend, this master of subterfuge in Delhi says, हमारे बच्चों की नौकरियां चले जाए. अंकल देखो तो सही है कितने? हमारी जनसंख्या 140 करोड़ है. पोर्टल में 1000 लोग रजिस्टर किए हैं. And yesterday I saw an article in the ET, which I was reading on the way here. Total number of people who had applied, or whom, they told the district magistrates, etc., to deal with those applications under the 1955 Citizenship Act. वो भी 4000 है. So what is this complete distorted picture which is being presented? Let's be very clear. This is not about religion. It does not cover, for instance, Sri Lankan Tamils. It does not cover Rohingyas. It doesn't cover others. These are well-documented cases of persecuted minorities in these countries: Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and one or two others. Okay? Now, it was designed to deal with a specific issue. Those who have come back, the others can also apply under a well-established. India is a humanitarian country. We have followed the principle of non-refoulement. We don't return people at the borders, etc. But look at this distorted thing that is coming. ये हो जाएगा, उसमें वो हो जाएगा. अरे भाई साहब, जो जहाँ पे minority votes ज़्यादा है, उन्हें कुछ नहीं है. Many of them are welcoming it. Because they realize, so it's about the humanitarian credentials of a country. And I think that's what the CAA is. Now I want to go to just one or two of these areas. I think most of these slides tell a very, very clear picture. I think the success story in India, the celebratory mood as a result of the, Chandrayaan, consecration of Lord Ram, all the others, what we've done on the sporting front, etc. It's very well documented. The story is, and the issue is, what from here? And I want to spend a minute or two. I don't know. I think our first-time voting population should be, Hiteshji, how much? Another 25% or something? Yes. Now, how much is the registered voters in India? I think it should be close to 860 million or something thereabouts. I think then for going forward from here is about what we do for that generation. Because I'm convinced the India that you are being born into, the India in which you are entering the job market, when Mr. Dasgupta and I finished university, I did it 1 or 2 years before he did, there were very few employment opportunities available. You could either work for one of the banks, if you did well academically, you could go into the teaching profession, or the government was the big employer. Today our youngsters are spoiled for choice. But more than this spoiled for choice, I think going forward, you will be in an economy which is fast growing and where the technology is determining the real this thing. Now, they used to make this whole thing about riots, etc. I think one of the things we are very proud of, that the BJP ruled states have a very calm and a very, I would say, a situation where you can do away with fear. Okay, now, Indian students, all right, I want to spend a minute on two. We had 28,000 Indian students stranded in the Ukraine when the Russia-Ukraine military conflict took place. I was privileged, along with 3 or 4 of my other colleagues, to send them back. I ask you a question. Which country in the world, which government in the world did something like that? Other countries had students also. In fact, in those evacuation processes that I was a part of, there were people from our neighboring countries. There were people from Bangladesh. There were people from other neighboring countries. We didn't ask any question. If for humanitarian reasons you required to be evacuated, we evacuated you. In fact, I want to tell an interesting story on the evacuation, if I may. You know, when I was in Budapest with my young friend Rasal, and we were evacuating, some of the students came to me, sir, badi problem hai, we will not travel without our pets. So I said, yaar, kya kar rahe ho? This pet is meant for Hungarian and Russian, whether it's not meant for, you know, those dogs which have big furs. Oh, hum to nahi jayenge. So I called, because I had been civil aviation minister earlier, I called the owners of the airline. I said, partner, make an exception. Pata nahi kya kiya. So wo to ho gaya, pets ka to kar diya. Then one day they came to me, sir, ye bada ye mauka kab aayega? Aaj agar hamari evacuation flight 5 din baad kar dena, because we like to go around Budapest. That's when I, you know, the calm in me said, I said, please be my guest. You and your pet travel by commercial flight. Because the only prime minister in the world, only head of state or government who's providing free passage back to people is Mr. Modi. And I can't put myself in the position of telling him, inke 5 din sightseeing karni hai, to inki sightseeing karwane ke baad bhejna. Maine kaha commercial flight se aana. I tell you, we took them out of there. No, I'm full of praise for them. But, you know, when a head of state or a head of government goes out to be so accommodative, then you also create a sense of entitlement among these guys, as if we had no choice but to do it. Believe me, if you had not done it, like other countries, we evacuated US students also. Indian origin US students, hum wahan nahi jayenge, hum India ja rahe hain. Many of them came, but we didn't have the time. Of course, at the airport, we did some checkpoints. No, I want to thank you all for indulging me, for allowing me to give you this freewheeling, this thing. I think the slides are more comfortable. If I start covering every slide, we're going to be here the rest of the evening. So I want to touch, and then I think some question and answer, and I'm ready to take pot shots. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for very comprehensively covering the journey that India has made from Fragile 5 to becoming the Bright 5 economies, and the work that we've done on various facets. There are certain questions that we have collected from the audience beforehand, which I will be taking up session. Can we have a cordless mic, please, on the stage? Give it to sir, please. So the first question, sir, is this. What is the role that you think West Bengal is going to play in this journey towards Viksit Bharat? What is the pivotal role that Bengal is to play?
No, let me tell you two things. What is the role any state can play? I think all states should step up and contribute to the national effort. Because you're part of the national effort and you need to contribute to the national effort. Many of the things I've seen in West Bengal, I've been writing letters, I've been concerning my two departments, which are very worrying. Which are very worrying because all you get from there is a no action narrative. The central schemes are not implemented. But more than that, I think there is a consistent pattern where I feel I have a sense of anxiety. For instance, when we had the Swachhta campaign, let me start right at the beginning. The Prime Minister had said at the outset on 15th August 2014 that it is his dream that by the time we celebrate the 150th birth anniversary of the Mahatma, India should be open defecation free. And came 2nd October 2019, India became open defecation free except one state. I don't have to name it. Of course, later on, with gentle persuasion, they also came on board, but it took more time than necessary. Secondly, I believe, look, where you see development indices, they are registering. And those development indices cannot be looked at in a parochial way. I mean, the CA is a case in point. I mentioned Mr. Kejriwal, but I think it's equivalent to, it's also applicable. Some states have turned around and said, we won't apply the CA. Arre, tumhare yahan 20-30 log hain ya 50 log hain, you don't apply it, your call. But be honest, at the heart of this is a humanitarian this thing. These were persecuted people there who fled for their lives. I don't know, my Sikh brothers would have seen this when the Granth Sahib, Holy Granth, was brought from Kabul along with the Granthi. I had the privilege of doing that seva. And that is a, I did it as seva. And and that clip is viral throughout the world. I mean, if you have to remove the Holy Granth from a Gurudwara Sahib, it means you're not safe. So I say this, how can you take any other view on something like this? Equally, I'm afraid the political partisanship, this is perhaps not a focus, but with this kind of political partisanship, you don't concentrate on, you see one thing Modi ji has clearly demonstrated. With the delivery of goods and services, he has demonstrated that good governance is good politics. And at the end of the day, we will judge them. I was given the privilege by my party the other day to conduct a press conference on the dreadful developments in one part of West Bengal, Sandesh Khali. And what does it boil down to? Forget about who has done what. Can the state be seen to be providing protection to someone after the High Court has clearly said that the local police and local agencies are biased? This I quoted from the High Court judges, this thing. But the state government goes up to Supreme Court in Delhi and asks for the investigation not to be handed over to the central agencies. Why? It's the women of Sandesh Khali whose voice brought this to national attention. Now again, I don't think that's a subject, but you asked me a question, what does West Bengal have to do? I think West Bengal is a part that we are increasingly proud of historically. I know Chopin, I don't want to flatter him, but I used to tell them, you know what, we used to say in the university, what West Bengal thinks today, India thinks tomorrow or day after. But I used to quip also along with others, if West Bengal sneezes, the rest of us also get a bit of a cold. So I think we are going through one of those phases just now that West Bengal needs to autocorrect. And by the way, I don't know how you guys view it, but the election is a good time to give a response on that.
Thank you very much, sir. That brings me to the next question. We have quite a few members of the youth community sitting here. In fact, very recently we heard, and this is a true testament to this government's motto of reform, perform, transform, that there was a Council of Ministers, a meeting that was held to discuss the roadmap and the way forward for Viksit Bharat 2047. So if you could please throw some light on what is the role that the youth and the Yuva Shakti is going to play in this?
Young lady, I was part of that 7-hour session. There were long 7 hours. I mean, you know, it's all right for us to have a 1-hour session. 7 hours. And the Prime Minister sat through every minute of those 7 hours. Where does the youth come in? The Prime Minister's concept of a caste society. By the way, we have a young leader. If you give him if you want to have a discussion on him, on let's say, development, he will say caste census pay, he'll give you a lecture. No, if you're discussing development, he'll talk about caste census. I want to draw his attention to the fact there's a young leader, I mean, not so young at this, but you call him a Yuva Neta. But I want to tell you, the Prime Minister's view is there are 4 castes. The poor, the youth, the women, and
The Anada.
Kisans. Okay? These are the 4 castes. I think in any ordering of priorities going forward from here, the youth play a central role. That is true both in terms of the 90-day program that we are preparing, also true of the 3 years, 5 years program. But you know, if you have 2047 as the Viksit Bharat as the thing, then you're also preparing a perspective plan for the future, which means everything: technology, education, skilling, job opportunities. If you look at our startups, I don't have the figures with me. I mean, you look at the number of startups you had earlier, the number of startups you have now, how many of them are unicorns? It's mind-boggling. So I think the youth, to answer your question without my becoming too long-winded, is very central and very important to that journey.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, now coming to the Viksit Bharat Ambassador movement, which is called as the largest Jan Bhagidari, or the people-powered movement of the largest people-powered movement of this century. How do you see that contributing towards Viksit Bharat?
I want to first share with you one personal impression I have. When I was growing up and you needed a telephone connection or a gas cylinder, you had to go and stand in a queue somewhere or use whatever margin of persuasion you had. The first time I'm seeing that a Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, a van consisting of government officers and local functionaries, is going from village to village and finding out ये जो हमारी योजनाएं हैं केंद्र सरकार की, central government, are you signatories? If not, they will help you become. So this is the government reaching out to those people. Let me give you an example on one of the most recent schemes. This is the Swanidhi scheme for street vendors. It was started in 2020 because during the pandemic, all economic activity came to a stop. Those of us who are sitting here, we were at some profession, we were getting some money, we could make our 2 ends meet. But what did the poor street vendors do? They used to go to a money lender, borrow money at exorbitant rates. They used to ply their stuff, but there was no trade to ply because business had come to a stop. So PM introduced this PM Swanidhi scheme, which is you gave a 10,000 rupees loan without any collateral. And if you paid it back, you got another loan for 20,000. If you paid that back, you got another loan for 50,000. Today, something like 63 lakh street vendors have got loans, and they've got something like 10,500 or 11,000 crores by way of loan. How did that happen? During the pandemic, every 10,000 loan they took, they paid off their debts. Then quietly put it together, got another loan for 20,000. This resulted in financial inclusion. Do you know what has happened as a result of that? They not only paid back their loans, they have an independent source of income. They are now taken seriously by the local authorities. When I was a student in school, and after that 25 paisa, 4 ana or 8 ana, we used to have pocket money twice a week. We used to go to the Golgappe wala, etc. And then the committee would come, take it away. They had to bribe and they would come back. Now the local authority takes them seriously. They're a vending zone. So one of the strongest and most impactful schemes is something like the street vendors Swanidhi scheme. Just to give you one example, if you look at all the other schemes, people realize that this is a government which is sensitive to the requirements, to the farthest first, which is the philosophy of the Sustainable Development Goals or the 2030 agenda, and also from Sarvodaya to Antyodaya.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, as a Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs, how is your ministry today implementing Modi Ki Guarantee? There's so much phenomenal work that has been done. So if you could have some key highlights and insights.
No, we are implementing it everywhere. I can tell you both, most of these schemes, or many of these schemes are in my ministry. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, in this Swanidhi scheme, near saturation. Now we are going around looking. I keep asking, kitne hai street vendors? If you have the definition of not having a fixed place to, ply your wares. And I think we've done 63 lakhs. We are willing to do more. I'll tell you what, Ujjwala scheme. We have already done 10 crores 28 lakhs connection. We have an approval for 10 crore 35 lakhs. If there are more applicants, we will give it to them. In other words, all these schemes are covered by an overall Modi Ki Guarantee. If you are entitled, you will get it. We are making this message through the Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, or wherever I go, any of you are entitled to a scheme, let me know. I'll ask somebody. If it's on the oil and petroleum and natural gas side, somebody from the oil company will approach you. If it is on the other side. But I wish I had the cooperation of state governments. Let me just say this. Like in Delhi, for instance, the Ayushman Bharat scheme is not implemented by the Chief Minister. Normally, I can do without a mic also.
So, it's something to do with your urban housing and development. Out here, about few years back, on Guru Nanak Dev Ji Jayanti, the local state government, the CM of the state, had promised the 6th of West Bengal that we will be making a Guru Nanak Bhavan, which will cater the entire community, to entire mankind as a whole, as to wherein we would be doing medical treatments, we'll be having a langar, we'll be having free education for the children, and all sorts of things which we can do. That thing never came up, sir. It was just a promise which was given to us. Later, a bill of a demand notice of about, if I'm not wrong, sir, about 1.5 CR was given to us, that you pay this amount and then only we can give. So we were very disappointed. We were
the broken promise. If you ask the local government, they'll turn around and say, you didn't pay the 1.5, that's why you haven't got it?
No, sir, she had assured that it will be given free of cost.
I don't know, but if you pay the 1.5, will you get it?
Yes.
I will give you the 1.5. How I give it, I will tell the Gurdwara Langar Society in Delhi, whoever, somebody will give you the 1.5, you get in touch with my people. But after that, if they don't give it, the only answer is vote them out. When we form our government here, whatever land she promised you, we'll give you double that.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So the last question.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Sir, I am
Why don't
Aditya.
you introduce yourself also, so that
Okay,
I
sir.
know your name also, I can respond more
Okay, sir.
directly.
Okay, sir. Sir, I am Aditya Ghosh Dostidar. Currently, I am the state co-convener of Agrivision, which is a wing of ABVP. And apart from this, I am a student from Bidhan Chandra Krishi Vishwavidyalaya. I am an author of 2 books, sir. So, sir, my question is, so we are seeing a developing India which is going more from the rural to the urban side. So people are shifting from the rural to the urban housing complexes. But sir, we can see there is a deficit in the waste management. So how can we deal with it? Because I think in the urban centers, especially in West Bengal, sir, there is a bit of sanitation problems. So how can we deal with it?
No,
sir?
no, you've got raised 2 very basic issues. And I'd like to, if you allow me, spend a minute or 2 on both. Waste management, bet here.
Thank you, sir.
Waste management is a serious problem, or was a serious problem. Do you know, in 2014, out of the total waste that was produced, only 14-15% was processed. In other words, 75% or thereabouts waste used to go into huge kura dumps. Bhai Sahab, can I request you to please... So 75% of the waste used to go into kura dump sites, or what are called legacy dump sites, because they had no policy. So in other words, any household that was producing kachra, just throw it out of the house. Somebody would collect it after a few days. You would take it to a dump site. Today, from that 15% waste processing, we have taken it to 78%. Today, 78% of the waste that is being processed, recycled, it's being made from waste to wealth. There is 100% of waste segregation at the point of production. For instance, if you are in a restaurant, you send it out, you separate the wet waste, which will go into the manufacture of compost, dry waste, which will be taken. You are right if you ask me कि आपको भी 10 साल हो गया आपने 78 क्यों किया? Give me another 2 years, we will make 100%. By the way, also the other legacy dump sites, we are now doing what is called bioremediation. We are doing that. Your first question is deeper. Why do people move from the rural space to the urban space? There's a very simple explanation. If you look at the contribution of agriculture to your GDP, there has been a decline in that. Today, I think the contribution of agriculture to the GDP, kitna percent? 17%. If you look at manufacturing, it was low. Manufacturing is going up thanks to the Modi policy. And 50% plus is due to services. Now, why do people move from one place to another? I'll tell you very frankly. Either people move from one place to another because they fear for their lives. There's a law and order situation. My previous generation came from Lahore and Peshawar because they didn't feel safe there. They knew they would either be, their property would be confiscated. Anyway, they had lost their property. Many of my friends who are here, ask them which generation came. They must have also moved. Yes. Bhai Sahab also, they moved from there. The second movement is, why did they come to Calcutta? Do you know that? Calcutta was a thriving economy. So you had people coming to Calcutta, to other parts of the Northeast. They came in as entrepreneurs. They came in as the transport sector. They came here to set up restaurants. Gyan Aluwalia's family ran, and he was studying with us and used to play a guitar. Now the point is, people moved due to economic instinct. So today, the West used to call us reluctant urbanizers because they said ki baki other countries of India's scale and size, the urban population is much more, but they didn't realize India is a sui generis, one of a kind cases. Today, if you do the census when it comes, you think that about 34% of India lives in urban spaces. But by some 34% out of a population of 1.4 billion. So you are looking at 2030, 600 million people living in urban spaces, 2040, 50, 600 to 700 to 800. But in life of all countries with a similar growth trajectory, meanwhile the rural economy is doing well. So there are people, thanks to our connectivity, if we are able to produce fast connectivity, let's say between Ghaziabad and Delhi, why would people want to live in Delhi? They will go to Ghaziabad, they will go further because the commuting time is only 30, 40, 50 minutes. Then after it plateaus, then it starts coming down. But in the foreseeable future, urbanization will take place because we are a democratic country. Today you are living in West Bengal, Calcutta. Tomorrow you may want to live in Delhi or in Goa. I once did a meeting with housewives in Delhi, and to my surprise, most of them were non-Delhiites. Many of them had come from Purvanchal to Punjab, Punjab to Delhi. There is mobility here. That's why we discovered, not only during the pandemic, that people, when they panicked, they just left what they had and heralded back to their homes. Many of them didn't want to come back for good reason, because they felt insecure. But today, with the economy again doing very well, people will go around looking for jobs. When I was a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old and I applied for my first job, my place of work was Calcutta. That's because the company I worked for was here. I didn't stay too long, it's a different issue. But today, the economic imperative, the magnetic force of employment and economic opportunity is what determines where people will move. But with the country growing, that's why West Bengal has to grow. Otherwise, industry will leave West Bengal. By the way, I shouldn't say, I don't want to be unkind when I'm getting your hospitality. Industry has left West Bengal. Where has it moved to? Some of it is moved to Gujarat. By the way, I'm not picking on West Bengal, just in case anybody wants to make a point. I make the same point in Punjab. When there has been a steady deindustrialization of Punjab, ask my brothers sitting here, when I meet industrialists of Punjab, I don't even have to ask them. They will set up the unit in UP, they will set up the unit in Gujarat, they will set up the unit in Himachal, not in Punjab. So I'm not singling out West Bengal. I'm singling out those states which have not taken the care to provide systems which are conducive for and encourage economic activity. They're strong on rhetoric, very weak on attracting investment.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now have to close the question answer session due to the paucity of time. That brings us to the conclusion of the program. We can take questions at the end of the program as well. Thank you very much. We are very grateful to Shri Swapan Das Gupta for hosting us in the city of Kolkata, his entire team led by Biswajit ji, for putting together this wonderful program in Kolkata. We are very thankful to Mr. Ashutosh, Mr. Rajiv Mantri and Mr. Kanoria for helping us put together this event at a short notice. Thank you very much, sir. And needless to say, this event would not have been possible without the presence of Shri Hardeep Singh Puri ji. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you everybody for joining in. Have a lovely evening.